Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host John, better known as Day Around Yakspin. We have a fantastic show for you. Festival of the Four Winds is returning. The community voices their opinion on the state of Guild Wars 2, and also a special Guild Wars 2 live event will be held next month, and much more. But first, let me just introduce you to my fellow host. He streams over on Twitch where he answers the age-old question. With the big reveal in August, maybe they'll give us the title of the next chapter of Guild Wars 2, known as Guild Wars 2 Death of a Thief. Say hello to Age.
I don't know how you did that. Wow.
It fits with it. We got hot, POF, now it's dot.
I already died though. I died in POF.
Yeah, but this is for good.
Oh, feels bad. Do I get Dervish instead? I'll gladly take that trade. I would take.
There you go. We're getting hero classes confirmed. Hero professions. Like, wow.
If we get
you
Dervish,
have to delete your thief and you get a dervish.
I think I can accept that trade off. Yeah, hi guys. Welcome.
And he's our Canadian Bacon of Guild Wars 2. And there's been a lot of he said, she said around the Guild Wars 2 world this week, but he's going to help us solve it all here and now. And surely he has saved my bacon this week. So thank you very much. As a last minute addition, our special guest, say hello to Inks.
Always happy to be here. Happy that I could do it.
Yeah.
Me too. Oh, so let us jump into it. And I do want to say we will cover the whole, state of Guild Wars 2. Like we said, we're going to probably save that for a little bit near the end, since there is a lot of other stuff, since I feel like that's probably going to be the biggest discussion point.
Chunk.
Yeah.
Of time.
But yeah, let us jump right into it. This past week, they did announce in a blog post that they're returning the Festival of the Four Winds, and it will return July 30th. And I don't know, it really didn't say too much about it, but the image they showed, it looks like it's almost like a new recipe, like it's got a new food recipe, or even someone said it kind of looked like a choya on the table there, like a little platter thing. But
there's a lot of things. Yeah. We'll get into it later, but there's a lot of things coming out next week. So, but yeah, you're gonna get. I think they added Queen's Gauntlet to this now. If I recall.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. You're right. I think they added Queen's Gauntlet into the festival, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
So I'm looking at the picture and I'm like, why are they at Queen's Gauntlet again? But yeah, you're right.
Sense, yeah. And it is kind of fitting because we are kind of nearing the anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah, and Chad is saying it was bundled in last year. So
yeah, there you go. So there you get all the Festival for Wind stuff plus Queen's Gauntlet, which is pretty nice. So
do you think we're gonna get updated Queen's Gauntlet fights, or is that gonna be like the standard? Since I think they updated it when they switched over to the festival.
They added a new tier, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they might add another tier again. I know a lot of people had a lot of fun with that last time, so I actually didn't have time to do that event last time, so I'm probably going to try to do it this year, and hopefully there's new bosses for the people coming back. I know Roko wants to do, like, ideally would have his little tournament, Queen Gauntlet tournament again, which is, that's a good community thing as well. And then you have Festival Four Winds, which you have like those, I think it was Sanctum Sprint and.
Yeah, it would be Sanctum Sprint. Then they, like, the one thing that you can't really play right now that I think is only during the festival is that, was it like a 3-on-3? You gather the different elements and it's almost like.
Yeah,
almost
whatever
feels
that's called.
Like you're like, yeah, it almost feels like you're in like the Avatar cartoon, like just blowing people off the sun.
Yeah. Cool.
I think that's the only thing that's not really race. Covered.
There's a turn into the Dolyak race, and then there's the skimmer race.
Right, that's true.
And then there's the collect. I forget what it is. You run around, you collect something within a certain amount of time, and there's like 3 tiers of it. They added last year.
Oh,
Oh yeah, do you think we'll have a roller beetle drifting course? They've been enjoying putting those in.
that would be difficult it'd be more like in the Queen's Gauntlet, I would imagine, wouldn't
Well,
it?
they added
just
a
have to-
race in Queen's Gauntlet, but it wasn't really
Yeah.
a roller beetle thing, right?
It would be tough to do a roller beetle in the Queen's Gauntlet.
It'd be tough to do it in the Zephyrite area. Because if you miss the track, you kind of you like fall right off.
I mean, I don't know if this is really like a it's not really meant as a like a depressing sort of comment, but I guess I don't really expect them to add too much this year because it was revamped last year.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I guess I really expect like new rewards will be added because that's what they do for every festival, and it'll be more of the same as last year, which for some people that might be disappointing, but that's kind of what I've come to expect from festivals. Sort of
Yeah,
updated
I was gonna say, 'cause
rewards,
even-
more of the same kind of stuff. I mean, maybe they add like one new thing or something there to get involved, like maybe a new boss or something to fight, but I don't really expect too much from this particular festival necessarily.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I was say that, like, I mean, granted, this was early on in Guild Wars 2's development, like the first year when they were talking about the festivals, and this was at the time like Halloween and Winter's Day, and that was about it. But they kind of said that they wanted to have a base to it, and then maybe occasionally adding one or two things. So I kind of agree with you. I'd be surprised if we see maybe one thing added, which I do like Chat's idea of maybe a sky scale one, since that is the new mount, and Labyrinthine Cliffs would be a great place to have some kind of sky scale.
I feel like they won't. Maybe they will, but I don't think they won't, just because how intricate the acquisition process for Skyscale is.
Well, the
But they
only
do have different-
the only plus side is that for any of these races, and we've seen this with the festival that just passed, they always have a renter there.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
Or
true.
you could like for example, you could rent a beetle if you didn't have the beetle, which I did on an old account who didn't have it. So if they did a sky scale, and I don't know if they will, but if they did a sky scale race or something, then they could just have a little roost there that you pay. I think it's 15 silver, and you can rent it for
Oh,
until you get off of it, until you get rid of it or whatever.
that's true. That makes sense. Huh.
but yeah,
So-
I mean, luckily we won't have to wait long. It will be coming out this Tuesday, so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Chat's saying they had Griffin courses before, so.
Yeah, and you could probably rent the Griffin too. So yeah, that kind of makes sense.
And that
Seems-
is a good idea. Like maybe because Labyrinthian Cliffs has been kind of notorious for almost like a catch-up thing. Like when they first brought it out, it was kind of a material dump, and then when they brought it out, like Chat's saying, it had Living World Season 4 currencies. Maybe this one will maybe help you get the sky scale currency or something. Or
You know,
like,
it's
work
interesting.
towards the
I
sky scale
really
easier.
didn't put much thought into this, but the sky scale is a fantastic mount for the Labyrinthine Cliffs map itself.
Yeah,
Like getting a lot of those coins and whatever for the older achievements will be a lot easier for people to do with that mount. I still don't have the mount, but for those who have the mount, it'll be a lot easier to get that stuff, you know?
That's true.
yep, Chat, and it will be this Tuesday, July 30th.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Chad. I haven't gotten the mount myself, so I'd probably be paying the 15 silver.
I got it.
But
I will not be paying my 15 silver.
I'm close.
but-
I'm almost done the saddle, and then after the saddle, I think I have to train it to fly or something.
set it off the
Oh, yeah.
Labyrinthian Cliff. That's the best way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see, and hopefully see if there's anything new added next week. But any other thoughts on the Festival of the Four Winds event or festival?
I'm looking forward to it just coming back, doing a couple of the achievements, whatever the daily stuff is to work on some of the rewards or whatever. I don't mind it. It is, as a veteran player who's been playing for a long time, or as a long-term player, most of it is really kind of busy work. I'm not real good at capitalizing necessarily on the festivals like maybe I should be. But it should still be fun, at least for the first couple of days or something. It'll be something different to do, to focus your energy and direction into, to sort of get that stuff done. And then if you like farming, then there's a lot of farming to do with this particular festival, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
At least in the past. I would be surprised if they changed it, but
right.
I just don't want anybody being like, oh, well, everybody said it was going to. So, I mean, they could, but
it's a bit of a shame. Sorry, Deo.
No, you're good.
What's a bit of a shame is Halloween has the labyrinth, right? And you can run the labyrinth endlessly, basically, as much as you want anyway. Like, they fixed the whole diminishing returns on the labyrinth, didn't they? I believe that they did.
So, yeah.
It's a shame that the other festivals don't have their own version of the labyrinth. For example, we just finished with Dragon's Day. What is it called? Dragon's
Right.
So bad.
Dragon Bash.
Dragon Bash.
I almost called it Dragon Stand. I was like, wait, that's not it.
You have the arena there, and so you have the opportunity to sort of endlessly farm that, but the rewards aren't there for that. If ArenaNet would have tuned the rewards for that, then you'd have more people just sitting in there and doing that sort of constantly. So like you did get some coffers and stuff, but the rewards could have been a little bit better, like the labyrinth, I suppose. And with this, there used to be a really good farm down in the Champion Circle.
Yeah.
That's probably
a couple of years ago. So it would be really cool if they sort of brought those rewards back a little bit, so that for those who like the labyrinth or the endless farming, then let people just do that if that's what they want to do. Because it's limited time, it's there for a couple of weeks or whatever, and it's something that you can look forward to doing if you like the farming aspect of it for these different festivals, So
I agree with that. I liked farming that Queen's Gauntlet. This one.
Yeah, it's like one of the few things you can kind of take if you have like a guild night or something. It's like a fun thing to change it up and everybody can farm something. But yeah, it's always horrible when you hit the diminishing returns or...
Just need people to kill the bandit's turret. That's all. So that we can actually kill it.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
Oh, I can't wait. All the people shouting, know the mechanics. But yeah. But for people that aren't I guess you're aware, but we weren't here last week, so while we talked about the patch notes, like that they were leading up to, like released it early, to talk about it, it seemed like all that stuff kind of pretty much was the same. I don't think anything really changed when it switched from the pre-release notes to the actual release notes themselves. But now that people have gotten to kind of test it, we were just kind of gonna generally go through it, and I'm curious of like whose builds got totally ripped apart. Were you able to find a new one? Are you a Mesmer and you're done with the game? You're deleting your Mesmer, and when can they do that with Thief? All those questions.
I'm not gonna do that because they gave me Portal. I like my Portal. I totally forgot. I was doing a jumping puzzle like this week. I'm like, oh man, I gotta wait for port. Wait, I can do portals. So I just used the rabbit to get to it, and then I just portaled my way through. And then I ported people when I was about to leave. I'm like, this is great. This is fantastic. So it's not it only ports 5 people in PvE, but feels good, man. Other stuff. Other stuff wasn't like, at least for Thief, wasn't very big. I would say it's like I haven't tried all the new preparations yet, but seems okay, just like an alternative type of deal. I know Hollowsmith for PvE weren't too happy with the toolkit changes. I know Chronomancers weren't too happy with like the clunkiness of the Chronomancer ones, I guess, or
It says
that they.
Warrior, if I remember correctly, kind of just got all buffs pretty much. So I'm sure they're
Yeah,
happy.
yeah, I haven't heard it. Yeah, mostly I've heard
They're just staying
about.
quiet because they saw what happened to Mesmer.
Most I heard is from Chronomancer, from Paul Smith, and from Druid, I think. Um, and I think the rest were like okay with the changes, type of deal. Oh wait, there was Necromancer with the Lifesteal, I think it was. That was another one. I think those were the major ones. Maybe LA changes too. I'm not sure. But
Which Chad brings up a good point. I know a lot of people were bringing up last time was, do you think Thief's traps got removed because maybe they're gonna add them as an elite spec later on? I guess maybe as the next one, but with like different types of traps. Apparently,
if they do, I'm not going to be happy about that because they nerfed Acro for Daredevil, and I didn't appreciate that. So yeah,
I just think that the thief traps weren't that interesting, and they weren't being used really for the most part.
that's what I was going for. Yeah, because
Like I guess they could bring them back in an elite spec, the thief trapper or something, but then you'd have to really do something new, interesting, and different with them. You can't just add the old ones back in; that would be lame. So it's a possibility, I suppose, but I really think this was more of nobody really uses traps or very seldomly, and they don't really fit within Thief necessarily.
I think it works with Thief in like the concept, but it just the actual reality is no one really uses traps unless it's for like a gimmicky build.
Hmm.
now I
Like,
know a lot of people are worried about, especially with this balance patch, the because the kind of the biggest theme was like having bigger trade-offs, like as like you're actually like sacrificing something to pick up an elite spec or not picking up an elite spec. Do you guys feel like that like that they're in a good spot with that?
uh,
For some of them,
some of them,
for some of them,
but
there were trade offs. For others, there weren't really trade offs. It was just you lose this.
yeah, because like for I think they've been really consistent in terms of Necro because like the shroud changes with each elite spec, right? But with Mesmer, for example, you had shatters, and with Chronomancer, you had just an extra shatter added to your bar. And with Mirage, I think you just have the original shatters.
Yeah.
So it's like, and now they changed the Chronomancer shatters to be like 4 different ones. So they have no distortion, and there's like a secondary proc for the Chronomancer shatters, but like but Mirage still has the same old shatters, which is very interesting. So like I guess they're going to change those eventually because it's I remember reading this Reddit thread about like there being very much inconsistencies. So like with Thief, you have Steel with and then it changes now when you have Daredevil, and when Deadeye it changes. So I think they're just like I'm not sure why they're doing it now.
Well, I think with most balance changes, this is the first step. Zekriox is saying how it's incomplete. There's a lot of that sort of criticism and feedback going on right now about how incomplete this felt. Some classes it worked and it felt really well, and other classes not so much. So, I don't get all up in arms and upset over balance anymore like I used to. Balance is more important in PvP than anywhere else anyway. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
super important in world versus world, but that doesn't get balanced for. So
And I think predominantly a lot of these were just PVE. Like there was a couple World v World PvP changes, but I think predominantly a lot of these were just
Yeah, and this is
set for
maybe
PvE.
like a hard pill to swallow, but in PvE, balance doesn't really matter all that much unless something is really being given the short end of the stick, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, Druid has been nerfed and nerfed and nerfed, and like they just keep nerfing it, right? So that other big things become more viable. Chronomancer's been nerfed a billion times as well because they were just, so strong. But
Kind of like what Chad
the
was saying,
problem is overall.
distortion kind of mitigated a lot of the skill
Oh, big
based
time,
play that
yeah.
they were going for.
But overall, like even raids, which is the top content, you can play with so many different variations and still be successful that balance really isn't the end of the world. The meta will just change to whatever so that you can do enough DPS.
Yeah,
Anyway.
as long as like top tier raid guilds are doing 30k plus DPS.
And they don't even need
always
to.
be some. Yeah, I know, but like as long as there are those types of builds where they can do that type of damage, like generally the consensus is you'll be just fine running whatever you want, as long as it's within.
And for like living story content and open world general content, your builds like don't even really matter, especially if there's enough people around.
But it is kind of funny that you kind of mentioned the whole, balance and looking at like the bigger raiding guilds and like the one of the bigger ones that are known for kind of releasing their builds and like where they feel the benchmarks are. Snowcrows released theirs, and basically it sounds like Tempest and Weaver for the Elementalist is good across the board with varying builds. The Renegade for the Revenant and the Dragon Hunter for Guardian excel on large hitboxes, which, I mean, I felt like that was always that way with a Dragon Hunter or anything with a massive AoE, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you're saying, like all the other professions can achieve that 30k DPS mark. Smaller single target hitboxes.
Yeah, and Mafongo says like most of the damage dealers saw about a 2k more damage on average increase. We were already doing too much damage, so great, we're doing even more,
Tons of damage.
And healing, like on the support side, on the healing side, you're constantly over healing, so like that doesn't really even matter so much.
Yeah, we have a lot of varying healers now, so
yeah,
doesn't hurt. I dig it.
But yeah, so, one of the other things that came up in the patch notes was for actually structured PvP. Jin's Dominion, they added some line of sight obstacles, and also they took Jin's Dominion out of the beta status, which that truly mean anything? I mean,
it's more like they're not going to do sweeping changes.
Oh, okay.
I guess, but I don't know.
Does it add it to the rotation then?
Oh,
coming out of beta. I don't play enough structured to know, but that's what I sort of assume when they say it's coming out of beta. I assume they mean that it's going to be added to the normal rotation of maps,
or even ranked, maybe.
That's what I mean, like ranked.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's possible. That's a good question. Probably next season, I would imagine. Huh.
But yeah, I mean, any other thoughts on the kind of balance patch itself? I know chat's kind
of.
Seems like it's centering a lot around like what chat's saying is like, while the trade-offs are, it's a good start, it's not. It doesn't feel fully implemented, which.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what the buffs were for. I think it was just mainly to implement that trade-off / balance as well. It seems like not one mode was targeted per se.
Do you think if they're going to try to hit the whole idea of bigger trade-offs, like maybe if you're a thief and you go this spec, maybe you no longer can stealth or use your steal mechanic or something, or
Stuff.
it gives
Yeah,
you, but it
I
gives
don't
you these
mind
things.
that as
Do you
long as
think
it's
we
like
might? Well, I mean, we're going to talk about later a little announcement. Do you think maybe down the road they might just say, we're just going to have specializations and not elite specializations, so you can pick up these things and kind of make your own conglomeration of a thing, whether it's going to be good or not, because it might have these bigger trade-offs like
uh I mean so like
so
if
you
I
you
was
maybe theoretically could get a dragon hunter that's also a uh what's the what was the POF one, firebrand,
Brand.
and whatever other one, but it might have a bigger trade-off, like that might not be an ideal thing or something, but you could now make a build that might suit you or your
so you
play
got
style, or
both elite specs? Or is it
well, because they might not be considered, maybe they'll announce they're not going to be called elite specs anymore, we're just going to have specializations that,
oof.
because, and that's always the thing, because they've always been fighting that idea of like, they're like, we call them elite specs, you can only have one at a time, but we don't want to make them any more powerful than the other ones. It's like, well, then
Well, that
don't
failed though.
call them.
That never.
It did. It was their ideal intention, but
The
it's
elite
just all,
specs in general are supposed to be on equal power, but not of equal power to core,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I mean, you can debate that some elite specs are just better than others, and some elite specs are made for like structured PvP, while others are made for PvE clearly. So they're not even necessarily balanced or relatable in that way. The trade-off thing is interesting. It needs more work. I'm sure it's going to see more work. Whatever next elite specs or specializations or whatever you want to call it we get next, those trade-offs should be built in ahead of time.
Yes.
So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But the downside of that is, let's say on the 30th of August they announce elite specs, and they're coming in the next year or so or whatever, right? The thing is you need to have everything else balanced by then, trade-off wise. Otherwise, the new specs are going to feel too harsh in whatever the trade-off is. Like if the new elite specs have this really well built-in trade-off and the other ones don't, then the old specs are going to seem like they're a better deal or bargain than whatever the new stuff is.
Yeah.
So they need to get that sorted before they're ready to launch something like that, if they're going this trade-off route, that is.
Yeah, we're not saying that is the case. It was just an idea that popped in my head when everybody was talking about, elite specs, and but especially because it was like we were talking about, they're going to remove trap from thief, potentially maybe only to give it back to him later. It's like, well, then what was the point, in my opinion?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we shall see. We'll be talking all about that and speculating all about that with the supposed August 30th announcement. But before we get to that, we were talking about PvP and how the Jin's Dominion is no longer in beta. Apparently there's some PvPQ problems, which I'm guessing it's because Jin's Dominion released and everybody's driving, wants to play it, right? That right?
No, there was a different bug. There's a different queuing bug or whatever I think it is that I don't think it's been fixed yet, and it's interfering with the ATs. So rather than run the AT and have this persist where it's going to be a problem, they just canceled it, I think, for this month.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have like an extra. Yeah, they said they're gonna have like 2 instead of 1. So.
Oh, okay. So the next month we'll have 2 lined up.
Yeah, it sucks if you planned around that, but
yeah, because I know, doesn't Jebro and I think a couple other streamers, don't they? Since can't partners view the automated tournaments? I thought Jebro used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about all partners, but a number of partners have the ability to spectate.
Yeah.
But yeah. So unfortunately, if you were waiting for the July automated tournament, like we said, it was rescheduled, but good news, it's almost no longer July, so you don't have much longer to wait for August.
Yay.
But you know, morale has been a little bit low, and like we will be talking about that. But I think maybe what helped a little bit was the announcement of what we knew was in the roadmap type thing that I think Mike Z talked about. I want to say kind of the beginning of the year.
April.
But was it April? Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things was talking about legendary runes and sigils for your equipment. Well, they did put out a blog post, and that as well, the legendary runes and sigils for your equipment will be coming out July 30th. And in the blog post, they show this little image of at least what I'm since it's coming out July 30th, I'm guessing that is what the UI is going to look like, which I know a lot of people kind of weren't
not happy with.
Yeah, it's a little.
The UI is going to be a tricky thing.
Needs a little love.
It's the hard part is going to be like
Gingham.
It's because like you want to sort it, right? And I think the Guild Wars 2 build editor has it like the nice way where you can sort between like power, healing, ferocity, precision, all that stuff. And then you have like the breakdown of different runes that you can have. So like Berserker, Berserker rune, like all that stuff, hold wreck, and then you can actually see the stat for yourself. So for me, like having just this giant list, maybe this is a beta thing, but like having a giant list to scroll through is not ideal for me.
Maybe a search box or something.
Yeah, or a search box, that would work too.
Something. Yeah, I don't know.
Because I know a lot of people were hoping like, oh, they should just implement the PvP one. But the problem with that is, which a lot of people did bring up, was the PvP one. It's very much all or nothing. Because I guess some very fine-tuning min-maxers still mix and match the runes. I haven't, since they've kind of really, addressed that as like.
Yeah, but it seems like it's applying it just to one piece for this UI. So I guess the PvP one would kind of work. But the way I was thinking about it is just like you click on your item and you click on the rune, or you right click on your boots per se, and you're like change rune. You open this menu, and then you have a drop down that decides like which base attribute you want, power, healing, all that stuff. And then once you click on one, or the search bar, you have some results that pop in. You have like the icons of the different runes. And when you click on one, it would swap the right bit to the rune that you selected, and you could see the stats that you would get, and it would highlight, just like it does right now, the bonuses you would get with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that way it's less clunkier.
Yeah. Now, just in case for anybody that's wondering, you can mix and match these with regular exotic superior runes or exotic superior sigils. So if you only have one of each, it's not like, your SOL type thing.
So I don't really get the point in this. What is the point of the legendary rune or sigil? It just copies the other legendary rune. It copies the other runes and sigils you have, right? Or does it allow the legendary one to take on any property?
It's literally swaps to any sigil you want, I guess.
Yeah.
Because if I suddenly want like a sigil of draining, like I assume you need expansions for like certain ones, obviously, but like if I want a sigil of draining and I want to swap to like, I don't know, I want sigil leeching, I can just easily go in and swap it, which sounds pretty nice. Because like I have at least 3 rows in my bags that are sigils and runes. Right. And depending on what I want, I would swap to those.
All right, that makes a lot more sense. The only other complaint I have, and I guess we'll have to wait to the 30th to really see, but these things look extremely expensive to craft. Like,
I think someone was
about
originally
1,000 gold a piece. So 6,000 for your armor and another 4,000 for your weapons, maybe. Yeah, another 4,000 for weapons, right?
It depends on what.
But I mean, isn't that kind of the same way for the difference between ascended to legendary?
No.
No,
10,000 gold.
no.
Well, no, I mean that big of a gap. Granted, I think it should be kind of like you
I would
said, put
s-
into reference
I mean,
or
even if they're
put in
500
scale it
gold each,
down.
you're talking about 5,000 gold. I don't know. That just seems like a lot to me. Now, granted, a lot of that is based off of current
market price stuff.
market price stuff. So, like I said, if some of these things, if some of the symbols and stuff come down in price a lot, then it won't be so bad. But it seems, and don't get me wrong, I do believe it should be expensive. I'm not saying it should be dirt cheap, but I feel like
It's gonna be
you should
The
probably
chat's saying
wait
it
like
seems
a
like at
couple of
least
months if
500
you're really
gold
going to
on
do
there.
this.
for me. It'd be. I think it should be relatively okay, like 300 for whatever you want for a rune or sigil. But you need like a gift, and you need to like actually work to get it. Like not like a month, but like I don't know, maybe a few days to get the gifts, like to actually put work into it, type of deal.
And yeah, I see chat keep bringing it up about because it is a lot of clicking. Because yeah, you think about it, you have your 6 runes, your theoretical, 4 on each for both weapons, or if maybe you're an elementalist or an engineer, you get to save a little bit. But you have you have your legendary armor, so that's another 6 pieces. I guess your back pieces, your ring, your all your accessories, your weapons itself.
No, you won't need it for
It-
that.
Well, but I'm saying you would have to click and set those stats if you want
Yeah,
to change it, which leads to people are like, we really need build templates, which
Right.
I think the important note is in that the post with Mike Z back in like Inks was saying April.
Yeah.
I think that was if I'm not mistaken, one of the next goals to go after
Yeah.
was build templates kind of after all this stuff, because this is kind of the last hot swappable item that would probably had to have been in place.
Honestly,
But-
I'm okay with it if I have to manually swap it. I do it right now anyway. And if I'm going to swap,
generally don't bother.
So
Swapping, but
And at least these don't
it's there if I
an
want
upgrade
it.
extractor.
yeah.
No, I mean this is in replace up upgrade extractors. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's don't get me wrong. I think it's a great idea. Market prices will shift and so forth. And Mofongo's correcting. It's 7 runes and 8 sigils, including the underwater stuff.
That's true.
So we'll see.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna
It's not something I'm gonna run out and do, but it's on my radar of this is something I would like to do.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna get runes.
I'm sure you're definitely not interested in it, since they did say that there is no visual effects to it, so you can't look like a brighter disco ball.
Well, while I love that, I understand a lot of people don't, and I understand why these wouldn't have any kind of. I mean, it doesn't really make any sense that runes and sigils would have necessarily like special effects.
That's just too much. Honestly.
I think it's really important that they stated that though, because if they didn't, some people would expect, what's the effect going to be, And when there isn't one, then they would complain that there's not an effect,
Mm.
Yeah.
But
But it is interesting. They kind of go into a little bit of how to get them, and they do say legendary upgrades are acquired using the Mystic Forge. You'll need to provide several gifts, including one that requires new materials unlocked by a global event. Oh boy. So what you'll need for the global event is piles of lucent crystals and Grandmaster crafting to exchange for satchels, to force knowledge out of the Mystic Forge, and every donation progresses a global community goal. Once the goal is complete, the ability to create new materials for legendary upgrades will become available to every discipline that can craft upgrades. And then
now they
like
did
all
this
the other ones.
before, and I missed it.
Yeah, I was
because
gonna
it only lasted for like 3 hours or something, and I wasn't even home. But
I was gonna say, didn't they do that with like some of the you could get
weapons
like
or
make the
something.
pistol or something out of the Mystic Forge?
Yeah. So the good news is, if you don't donate anything, you're gonna reap all the benefits and rewards from this. If you don't donate, you don't get the achievement.
Oh.
No.
I didn't donate. I can make the pistol and all that stuff. Like, we have the recipes, but I didn't get the achievement for that. So if you don't donate the lucent crystals, and I think last time it was like 1,000 of whatever.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to donate a certain amount to get the achievement. if you don't care about achievements, then don't do anything. Just log in and reap the rewards from other people, which is fine. I think that's the right way to go. But I'll be trying to do the achievement. My problem right now has been, and I posted this on Twitter, getting these materials is not easy unless maybe I'm doing something really wrong. But I don't get that many Lucent crystals, and I get even less symbols and charms, whatever they're called, right? Because they launched a bunch of new recipes as well. You can buy off of like the vendors for the symbols and charms, are like 5 each. And because of that, people have already manipulated the market, and the prices are sky high, and so on and so forth, which is to be expected. I don't really blame trading post people. But like, you need to go run silver wastes or something, I guess, and just bulk pile green plus gear and just break it all down. I don't know how else. I don't know a better way of really doing it right now.
Yeah, but what's good is that, like, if it's a community goal, at least it's not like on you to like get 3K luminescence just to like get one rune, right, type of deal. It seems like it's like a community thing where like you give some for the achievement, but overall, if everyone's participating to unlock this feature, and it seems like it's not going to be timed. It's going to be like eventually.
There's a
just
hidden
there
number
until it's fulfilled.
Yeah, there's a hidden number.
Okay, because Chad was asking what happens if they don't meet the goal. Because I was wondering.
Eventually. It'll probably happen way faster
there
than ArenaNet thinks it's going to happen. That's what happened with the 3-hour event.
That's why that was a test to see.
It so fast that it was like, okay, it's over, and if you missed it, you missed it. Like they can arbitrarily extend that. The other good thing, I guess, for the game, I don't want to say good for ArenaNet, but good for the game maybe, is this just a material sink, right? It's just
and I was gonna say, because
out of the game,
if you need the crystals for this, because last time I was gonna say I'm curious if it was an accurate test, because I think when it was for the pistols, wasn't it like mithril, which I'm sure people have in droves, like that's why it got filled in 3 hours.
Yeah,
for sure. But like, you need these crystals and symbols and charms to craft the legendary runes and sigils. So you're throwing all this stuff into the forge, or at least the Lucent motes you're throwing into the forge. You're going to need that as well to do the crafting. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit if you want that achievement. Yeah, if you have a lot of gold, I guess it doesn't matter. But
maybe that's also why we saw the world boss rush thing come around again, because at least that's a little bit more investment to see how many people would go out of their way to do something and see if they can meet a goal within a week, or what was it, 2 weeks that they give us?
2 weeks, yeah.
So maybe they're once again trying to gauge
what
that.
What was really interesting about the boss event this time, there was definitely less people participating. I remember I spent all day one day. I probably did 25 to 30 bosses. We were stuck on the sliver of tier 3 for hours. And then the day before it's about to end, there's about this much of tier 5 to go. And it was like instantly done. Boom, easy. You guys completed a good job. So I don't know if there's more participation when it got to tier 5, or if ArenaNet just like secretly went in there and like changed the number to say, okay, you guys made a good job. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't want to say that's what they actually did, but that tier 5 went real fast compared to like tier 3.
And like I said, I wonder if it was more about maybe testing to see how far the community would make it rather than actually completing it. And maybe they just decided at the end, let's give it to them as like a unknowingly thank you for beta testing, this stuff.
I do think they need to be careful, like Chad is saying. They're perhaps having too many one after another to participate in these things. On the plus side, if you just do it, like if you just did one boss, you qualify for all the tiers. Yeah. So really all you have to do is kill one boss, and that's it. Like, let the other people do the heavy lifting, I guess. So on one hand, it's easy to get participation. On the other hand, it's like, okay, World vs. World this week. Next week is Boss Rush. Next week is Festival. After Festival, Boss Rush again. You know what I mean? It's like constant no breathing of these filler events when really what you just want is the core, new raid, new dungeon, new fractal, whatever you want to call it, upgrade, Like these things but they should probably give a little bit of breathing room.
Well, I think they did that on purpose. Like I said, purpose just to literally test it. Maybe they didn't maybe they originally didn't want to do it back to back, but just for the sheer purpose of testing it, because that maybe even is a good way to test what happens when people are or burned out on the event, or because after a certain point, the Mystic Forge stuff, the people that will want it will be getting it early on. It's like, what happens when people don't need it anymore? It's like, how hard will it be to fill that, or
right? Yeah.
So maybe they're even testing that. I don't know in the end, but yeah. I mean, we'll see how good or bad it is. Like we said, legendary upgrades will be coming July 30th as well. So can't wait to see how that pans out.
Should be fun.
Yeah. But you go into all these world bosses like we were talking about earlier and getting like drops and skins and stuff. That's good and all to make your character look fancy, but why not make yourself look fancy, right? Well, with Wildbangarang, we've talked about in the past, they've kind of been teasing, but they did put out a tweet saying how they have a new collection of Guild Wars 2 stuff. It's 9 pieces in total, 5 different types of leggings, and 4 dresses, which you can see right here. And I forget some of the names, but what was it, like the
Flame Kiss, I think.
Yes.
Things like that. I can't comment on these.
Are people excited for these? Arlie, are you excited for this stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a leggings really kind of guy.
Intrigued.
He is. Okay. I mean, hey, that's great.
I mean, and they have done in the past, like men's well, not men's hoodies, but like more stuff that men could probably.
I mean, men can wear leggings
and stuff. Yes, yeah. They can.
I don't know.
That's why I was
necessarily do, but yeah, they could. My wife loves leggings, so I guess. I mean, I want a dress. I don't know about you guys. I need to get that XXX dress out there. Wear that on.
Aristogalkin dress right there, eggs.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
It's a nice one. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be horrible if it snags like right where? Never mind. But yeah, it seems like they're right around the $50 mark, 50 US denomination. So, but yeah, like
I don't know.
Like they're
is that a good price? Arlie is saying it's a good price. I don't know.
Is it?
I don't know. I've never bought leggings. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a lot for leggings.
Think so?
I have no idea.
It's high quality. I don't know. What does a Lulumon or whatever cost? You're paying for the name there, I guess, right?
I guess so.
Is it called Lulumon? Is that right?
I have no idea, man.
I don't know. That sounds like a Digimon, in all honesty.
Is that not right? People are probably face palming. That's not what it's called, Inks. Lulumon. Lululemon. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, apologies.
That makes fair. Everything going to okay.
They're saying that seems like they're a thicker type. So.
Okay, so they don't tear easily. Yeah. Apparently, leggings are comfy. So there you
go. Yeah, I wouldn't know, but more power to them. And hey, even if you don't want these. Like I said, Wildbangarang does have like Harry Potter stuff, Lord of the Rings. I'm seeing World of Warcraft. I know chat was talking about the Horde leggings type thing, but I know they also do have like hoodies and stuff. Regular T-shirts, and so there should be stuff for anyone if you're interested.
I mean, it's a pretty cool design wise,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they look nice. I mean, they're it's supposed to be armor on you know, on leggings. I feel like it has achieved that, but yeah, I I think that's the biggest problem is the three people here probably not their demographic right now.
Probably not. Probably not.
Just give me a hoodie. I'll talk.
Well,
like
maybe
hoodies.
maybe collection 2 if they do well. So
Yeah.
everybody go buy some so us three can have hoodies. No, no one. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely if you're at all interested in those, pick them up at Wildbangarang. And I think it's an EU based company. I know we were talking about that last time, so it isn't like atrocious shipping that like I know EU tends to have when it's stuff like this for like video game company merchandise that's usually centered in the NA. So that should be good for them.
That's good. Yeah.
Oh boy, here we go. So, well, it's kind of like Abaddon. It's always been there in the background of all things. But as of recent, and maybe hopefully, like Abaddon, no, but as of recent, it's kind of really taken a chat saying show's over. Oh no, but we gotta get through this to get to the announcement stuff. So it's like a little tree at the end. But yeah, it's people are concerned about the state of the game, especially the Guild Wars 2 community. We've heard it from content creators, both YouTubers, streamers. We've heard from fans of them. We've heard from, I feel like, both sides, and I think it was Roka who was showing off was showing the we're having like Guild Wars 2 refugee thing showing up in other games, which we've always been the bastion for other game refugees, and so it's like, I guess the biggest question is this a dead game? Do we close shop? Is it like,
Oh god. Okay, no. That's not, yeah. So I remember there was a one thread where it's like Mighty Teapots considering quitting, or so
yeah, I think
Guild
that's where
Wars
it
2.
started. Like, I think it was 2 weeks ago.
He's like, is this
Where that
beginning of the end? I'm like, no, okay. I understand what you mean, like, because like Teapot is like a big influencer when it comes to Guild Wars 2. But just because an influencer leaves a game, it doesn't mean the game is in jeopardy of dying. There's a
Well,
big.
and I do want to answer some of Chad's questions. I see Chad saying we have Final Fantasy 14 ads on the Reddit forum. That's usually attached to like your browsing history. Like, it probably picks up, oh, you browse video games. It probably is delivering whatever ad.
Yeah, I get like
in that
Bitcoin
case.
mining all the time.
Well, what do you look?
Mining
Well, I
Bitcoin.
guess, yeah. Oh, is that why you're trying to get that computer upgrade, huh? I get you.
I wish that would be separate. It's just one of these things. Whenever you have, and Jaw just was part of this as well, right? A lot of people more recently. Now you have to remember too. Final Fantasy 14, just had a new expansion release, right?
Yeah. Shadowbringer.
The Final Fantasy 14 in general has been in a pretty good state for a while. I think its raids are considered to be pretty difficult or pretty challenging. And so it's not really a big surprise that people looking for that challenge at the upper end, I guess, of Guild Wars 2 are switching around or looking for a new game to play. The last raid that came out, which was not too long ago, didn't really make a big impact. And the waiting between those raids was 9 months. And the waiting between the previous raid and Doom was 9 months. So you're talking about a very, very long time between raids. And then when the raids do come out, even at the CM level, which is supposed to be the challenge mode, they're not that challenging. And then there's also a lot of uncertainty that goes on top of that. Is there going to be another raid? If there is another raid, is it 9 months away? Because that's a long time to wait for 3 bosses with not too much of a challenge when it comes to even the higher tier people, which is what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't blame them for their disappointment in that. Now, Georges is more of a structured PvP player, but it's
So he's used to the disappointment.
but so you can't really blame these people when something like Final Fantasy XIV comes out with the new expansion with big raids, or WoW Classic, which is I think sort of supposed to cater to the old school mentality sort of thing. You can't really blame people necessarily for being tempted by that to want to go and experience that raid content or that harder content when the game that you're currently playing and streaming just really isn't delivering that. And to be frank, they're not really, there's not a lot of sign or communication that they're going to deliver that. And when you do ask about it, usually you get a response of something to the effect of, well, if we do this, then that'll split the community further, which I don't really believe is true, but that's sort of the response that you sort of get.
And my biggest question, and I in the end, I do agree that I think there should be greater communication. I've said it multiple times, and yeah, we have been very there's been very near nothing communication. I feel like it's for the last couple months, but you know, I see people saying ArenaNet is scared to make their game hard. How would you go about doing that because Final Fantasy, if I'm not mistaken, or Final Fantasy XIV, if I'm not mistaken, has a gear treadmill. There's something to achieve, like when you're first going into these raids in other MMOs, you are not the top. You aren't at an advantage. You're not at a equal level playing field with them.
I don't think
chat is saying XIV is not hard. I personally have not been in XIV. I
don't think it's even about gear. I think it's more about just what type of content do you want to be challenging versus what do you want to not be challenging. So I think with HOT, since people are bringing it up, yes, I do agree that some elements of it were difficult, and like for example, unlocking elite specs, that was more difficult because you had to group up. Like some of them required that you had to team up, and there was a limited amount. But I did it, just knowing it's okay, I'm just gonna get my elite spec. It's I didn't worry about it being difficult. Some of the mods were a little difficult. Some of the meta events were a little difficult as well. It's they tone it all down, and that's fine for open world PvE. I think that's fine. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to raids is supposed to be challenging group content. Fractals are supposed to be challenging group content. And so when you're toning it down to the point where it's not very challenging, where you can beat it within 2 hours, that I feel is a bit of a problem.
It's important to distinguish that when some of these players are talking about difficult content, they don't just mean raids. They mean the open world. They mean world bosses. They mean structured PvP to an extent as well, which has a very dwindling. And when it comes to structured PvP, the thing to remember is that if you look at the monthly ATs, forget this one for a moment, but the monthly ATs are seeing less and less teams competing. So then at that higher tier, I'm not talking about the everyday tier or whatever, but at the higher tier where monthly automated tournaments are happening, if there's less and less people participating, that community is getting smaller and smaller without seeing too many updates to that mode necessarily.
Yeah, I feel like ATs are declining, not necessarily, but I think it's more declining because it kind of came out late versus if it came out with HOT, for example, or 6 months after HOT, I think it could have had a decent viewing. And also for me personally, I think the cheating in the very first automated tournament kind of just did it for me. I was like, I'm not doing this. So I think there are a lot of different pieces of content that Arena needs to actually really focus on, or just like state what their stance is on it, because at this point it feels kind of cruel to the point like I don't know what's happening with World versus World. I would like to know how the alliance is going. I would like to know if you're going to make a new map, new siege, have different ways of like doing combat. And we just haven't heard anything, and it's like, and people are kind of in limbo, and I feel like that's why people are jaded, just not necessarily because they know what's happening to the game mode, but more because they don't know what's happening.
Well, and I don't really want to speak necessarily on behalf of Mighty Teapot, but I think it's probably safe to say that he sees his raid community, or the community of raiders, it gets smaller and smaller each time. A new raid comes out, a bunch of people come back to do the raid, but then they clear it super quickly. The challenge is not necessary. And don't get me wrong, Teapot himself has said he loved the recent raid as far as mechanics go, but difficulty-wise, people are done in less than a day, and then they leave again. And every time that happens, you then wait another 9 months, and even less people come back, or they forget to come back, or they no longer care to come back. The other problem, too, is when difficult content is introduced, like the Chalk Garant, let's say, when stuff like that gets nerfed or fixed or whatever you want to say, it sends a message that it doesn't need to be challenging. It just needs to be completed. And that's a message that a lot of those players really dislike. On the other hand, you have stuff like Triple Trouble Worm, and we haven't seen a boss like that in the open world that requires that kind of work together or communication since that release.
Yeah. I feel like with bosses, Chalk Garant is a very different case, just because it's required for like making things or various different things, whereas like Triple Trouble, it's its own isolated event. And I think if we're going to have more challenging open world bosses, I think they need those types.
What's the unique thing that Chalk Garant had, like for crafting? I can only think of collections,
legendaries,
skin. Oh, okay.
Legendaries and skins and things like that. So like more people are going to go to Chalk Garant to like do completionist stuff, whereas for Triple Trouble Worm you could go for rewards and the challenge. So I feel like there needs to be more of those types of bosses.
I'll give a good example. Sorry for the motorcycle.
Okay.
I was in a guild called ATT, which formed with the release of Triple Trouble Worm. And the purpose of the guild was a bunch of like-minded individuals who wanted to go to world bosses and basically try hard the bosses to the point where you kill them as fast as possible. Like, I think we killed the regular giant worm in like less than 20 seconds or something like that.
Like Caldeon Force?
What's that?
In Caldeon Force?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like killed him in 20 seconds. But that was the point of that guild, was to go to these different world bosses and kill them as fast and as efficiently as possible. If you could, of course, get all your members on the map. The problem became when Silver Wastes launched. And when the third part of Silver Waste launched and we got the flower, what is it called? Bloom? Vinewrath. We were there day one, and we're all sitting there at the entrance waiting to do Vinewrath. We don't know anything about the boss. We ran in there to try hard it, but Vinewrath was so easy that was the first, I feel like, that was the first step of the deterioration of that guild, because it was so easy. We thought, okay, this is going to be another Triple Trouble Worm, which took like 36, 40 hours to kill, and EU got there first in that case. Mm-hmm. So we were trying to get like first Garant down and stuff. Or not Garant, the flower, Vinewrath. But then Vinewrath was so easy that it was like, well, where's the challenge? There's just no challenge.
Okay.
And guilds and communities like that not just for open world bosses or whatever, but raid guilds and so forth. They really strive on that stuff. And when the game slowly continues to take all that stuff out or nerf it or change it or simply not develop for it, I think that's like the beginning. That's where the seeds of discontent are planted. If you take that and couple that with lack of communication on the direction of the game as far as challenging content goes, then you have this setup for disaster. You know, they had a raid squad that was releasing raids 1, 2, and 3 fairly quickly or at a very good, reasonable pace that everybody enjoyed, or generally everybody enjoyed. And then it became like 6 months, and then it became 9 months. You know what I mean? It's slower and slower. And Nike actually did a video more recently talking about some of those changes. We get fractals every 6 months, and it seems like we get a raid every 9 months. And I'm sorry to say, as much as I love Guild Wars 2 and I love ArenaNet, that's simply not fast enough development time. It just isn't to keep those people engaged. Now, if you're looking at your community as a whole, and I believe that Mike O'Brien had said this years ago during Heart of Thorns, I think that they see most of their players as playing everything. I'm doing a little bit of open world. I'm doing a little bit of bosses. I'm doing fractals. Maybe I do a little bit of raids. I do structured PvP for fun. Maybe I hop into world versus world. I think that their metrics tell them that that's what most players are. Okay. And so in their mind, I don't think that they're happy with a 9-month release cadence, but I don't think that they think it's the end of the world because they're doing fractals and they're doing living world. And since you play everything, you know, you can wait a little bit longer maybe.
I see what you mean.
The other aspect of that, sorry, Deo, just real quick. The other aspect of that is they had these other projects in the work, right? And we know at some point, I don't remember the exact date, at some point we went from 2 raid teams that was developing raids 1, 2, and 3, and I think 4, down to 1 raid team. And that 1 raid team now also hosts the Fractal team. So instead of having 3 separate teams, or at least 2 separate teams, you now have 1 team doing the job of 2. And that is going to slow down your development time big time. Now, ArenaNet said that they were refocusing their efforts, and hopefully some of those resources go to raids and fractals, because especially fractals, dungeons in general are super important for an MMO RPG in my mind. But we don't know about that yet. We haven't seen those changes yet. And people have already been waiting a long time that the goodwill that is put forth on the waiting for new content is just run out, I think.
Yeah.
I saw Chad kind of referring to it as, you know, Jack of all trades, master of none. That's just AAA MMOs nowadays in general. I mean, because of WoW's success, every MMO tries to do everything, and some find some kind of stability, and then some, which, you know, we're hitting this rough patch here where it just doesn't seem maintainable with the staff or the, you know, work structure that they, you know, I don't know the behind the scenes, but whatever's going on there, it's just not a sustainable thing.
You know what's really interesting too, and this gets talked about a lot less, I think, because many of the vocal voices that do podcasts and stuff like that are, or tend to be, on the more I don't want to call them elitist or try hard side, but they tend to be on the where they do the higher end tier content. Not all of them, but a good deal of them at least dabble in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I
try hard at being casual.
What you don't hear a lot about is the failures of Living World. Now you might be thinking to yourself, what? No, Living World has come out with episodes, but think about it.
No, yeah, I agree.
Last season, we went from 2 to 3 months, nearly 2 months all the time, to almost 4 months before the layoffs. The layoffs hit now. Who knows? So we started to stretch those last couple of episodes to 4 months every single time, and every single time there was some reason as to what delayed it or whatever. And you know what? Delays happen. I'm not trying to poke holes in ArenaNet here, but we start to see the delays more and more and more. And if you want to believe what Jessica Price says, and I have no reason not to trust what she says as far as the living story development, she talked a lot about on her Twitter on how it was difficult to get the go-ahead from the animation guys, the cinematics team, excuse me, where they had to fight for, we want to do this cinematic. And they're like, well, I don't know if you're going to be able to get it done. Now, in the end, they got it done. Fantastic. But obviously, there was a drain on resources where they weren't sure if they could get cinematics done. Why? Because just like the Fractals team or the Raid team, where there was 2 teams into one, the same thing happened over on Living World. Those teams got less and less resources, and they were operating at an almost bare bones sort of thing. That's why all of the maps up until Dragonfall feel cookie cutter. The rewards are kind of the same. The events are kind of the same. The only difference is what story happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
The maps all have the same thing, repeatable hearts and yada, yada, yada. They all feel pretty cookie cutter up until Dragonfall, up until the last map. So
it's interesting you brought that up, because I've said this before. I don't know if I said an after show or something, but I felt like Living Story Season 4 I wasn't that into versus like Living Story Season 3, because I've been going into Season 4, I've been doing the story. I did like 1 or 2 achievements, and I haven't been going back. And when, the last episode was coming out, I assumed there would be a back piece, so I started doing achievements again. But normally, I would have my achievements done, and I haven't been doing them. And I honestly, I probably haven't done some map completion too. And at that point, I was thinking to myself, like, why haven't I been enjoying Living Season 4 like I have Living Story Season 3? Or why am I not going out of my way to do the achievements like I usually do? And it's very interesting you brought that up. So I think that might play into it a little bit.
yeah, for sure. And you know what? I'm exactly the same way, Age. And what's funny is I actually like the story better in Season 4. Season 3? What are we in now? I don't even know. Season 4?
This is 4.
Actually, I actually like the story in Season 4. I really did. I like how Timey's character had changed, and she's not as annoying and yada, yada, yada. But they carried over so much of the formulaic, as Mofongo Jones says, from Season 3 to Season 4 map-wise, the maps are just kind of, they're not, I don't know. They're cookie cutter, and they just feel the same, and it's kind of like
they don't feel inspiring.
Yeah. So the story was better. The maps were the same or worse. And again, this all comes down to like the same thing for raids. The only thing we know, and I think this is a dangerous game that ArenaNet sort of has played now. The only thing we know is that there's going to be a Season 5.
Yeah.
It's supposed to happen faster than Season 4, like between episodes and so forth. So less than 4 months, I guess, right? Because that had become the standard.
Mm-hmm.
It's been about 2 months now, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit. I guess there's a big announcement coming up about Season 5, but we don't know where Season 5's going. We don't know what the story involves, what maps we might see. We really don't know anything about Season 5. We don't know if we're getting more raids. We assume we are. We don't know. Do we really know? World vs. World alliances, we haven't heard from in a long time, and alliances is not enough to say World vs. World on its own anyway. We really haven't heard anything except for some very cursory plans about legendary runes and sigils, which is really a quality of life thing. The wardrobe stuff, which is a quality of life thing, and some increases to cooking and stuff, which not content, but something for you to like do and work on and experience, I guess, in the game. But content-wise, we really don't know anything. And we didn't even get a trailer or like a snippet or something at the end for us to speculate where we're going in Season 5.
I think with Season 5, I've said this before, I think with Season 5, it's kind of like a blank slate that they can go in whatever direction that they want, because they kind of like summed up.
It's a very good break off point. Like,
yeah, it's like if they want to break off from the dragons, from the gods, from whatever, like this is the point that they can do it, and that they can go into a more intricate story of and literally plan out what they want to do or maybe they have been planning out what they want to do.
And you know what? I think that is okay and works if the game is in a really good state. But the game wasn't in a really good state, and the game isn't in a super I don't want to say the game is in a terrible state. I don't think it is. But it's not in the greatest of states. And there's a lot of
Honestly,
uncertainty in the game and in the community right now. And if Season 5 was going to be an expansion instead, there's more hype you can generate about a new expansion that starts with a brand new storyline rather than a DLC season.
Mhm.
We can talk about expansion and limited story, but I do want to, because we're kind of straying away from it when we're talking about the formulaic stuff, and chat was saying, you know, the idea of the corporate mentality, because we do have to remember that it is a business, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, especially when it comes to pay structures. Like the corporate mentality that, you know, they've probably been dealt of basically doing more with less. It's
and that's great. I understand that. But your basic player, the ones who don't even go to Reddit, they don't care. All they care about is logging in and playing the game. And they're not going to give you money if there's nothing to play.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that leads more into like the game industry as a whole, the way it is right now, and how like all these studios are trying to like go this live service route and provide content over time, things like that. And it's like live services, I said, are pretty much mini MMOs at this point. But again, like what said, like you need to like, if you're not going to give the content right away or in a like I won't say timely fashion because it's like fluctuates, but like if you're not going to give out the content, you have to talk about it. Like for example, I'll give a good example. With Warframe, they recently had a TennoCon. They talked about their new Imperium, which is like the space combat thing. We know that they've been talking about it. I don't know, like
quick question for you.
Last year,
Warframe.
Yeah,
you guys both know way more about Warframe than I do. I played a tiny bit.
We tend to do it. We started a podcast. We like it so much.
How big would you say that company is? Sizably. Tiny.
See, that's the misleading thing is they still consider themselves indie, but I know a lot of the veteran people on that side are like, well, you're owned by, I think, one of the biggest like Eastern market like game producers over there. Yeah, because I know a lot of people like say like I always see that comment when they refer to themselves as still an indie studio, and people are like, you're owned by, it's the same company that I think is gonna work with
Tencent.
Yeah, I think it's Tencent, because I think it's the same company that's gonna work with that Amazon about the Lord of the Rings MMO that's coming out.
So
but, it's a little muddy.
Is TennoCon their own? Is that a real thing you can go to, or is it an online thing?
It's in Ontario, actually.
I should have gone. I don't know anything about it, but I should have gone anyway. It's the only thing in Ontario that I could actually.
If they had a Q&A segment, I'd be like, so what's this game about?
Make PvE more better. No, but my point is I hear a lot about Warframe, and the things that I hear is they communicate with their community a lot more. They have constant Q&As and streams and updates about what they're doing in the game. They have their own convention, clearly, and yet they're bigger than indie, but not Blizzard big. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't know. I look at a company like that and I say, if they can do it, why can't others?
Yeah, it's more like who people have to pay the bills to, I guess, at that point. But my whole point is that like they're communicating about like the Imperium, the space combat isn't coming out until like later this year, but they've been talking a whole year about it, and like they've been keeping people updated like every like I don't know 3-4 months at this point at a time. So,
and I mean, I and that's the problem is, you know, the Guild Wars 2 refugees are seeing the greener grass on the other side, because I saw a lot of people commenting in some of the other things of like, oh, it was related to, I think, Nike's video being posted in the official forums, and it was the title was modified and then also blocked by another moderator or something along those lines. But a lot of people were saying, oh, well, first off, they were saying, well, yeah, WoW's mods are crazy. Final Fantasy's moderators are crazy. Luckily, Warframe cares about their community stuff. I'm like, you have not been playing long or have been paying attention, because so many of the veteran players have talked about these moderators that were put in charge of their, literally going on like their social media saying like, I will get your account blocked forever, blah 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 type thing. Yes. And I think even at that point, that still didn't get them banned, like kicked out of the program. It was some like other stuff that like led to it, but supposedly not all the bad apples are out of there. I personally don't know the ins and outs of it, but it's one of those things of a lot of people. Yeah, there's good and bad of every community, and I truly think that we're in that. I feel like we're truly in that, like the down bit of like how WoW was before maybe like Warlords of Draenor kind of took it back up, but like it definitely does feel like we're in a downswing. Hopefully we can go back up with it. But
what's interesting, there's two things I'd like to say. Number one, Teapot isn't full on quitting Guild Wars 2. Yes, he's going to play WoW Classic. He'll be back for other Guild Wars 2 content. He'll still do raids from time to time and so forth. It's not like he's hard quitting, which I think a lot of people are sort of putting that in the minds of others, that it's a hard quit, and it's not.
Yeah, when I first heard it, I heard it like that, and then someone luckily came in and was like, no, he said he's still going to play it, because that was my one big confusion, was if he wants that was my biggest question 2 weeks ago when we first saw it, was like, if he wants challenging content, why is he going to a solved game? But if it is for just the sheer enjoyment and maybe something different.
Well, I don't think he ever played Classic WoW, so I mean, I guess.
But I mean, isn't that the big thing for raiders, is to, be the first and like race towards it? Like,
well, part of it. I don't think for Teapot
strategy.
It is. For some people, it certainly is, but for him, I think it's more about figuring it out and doing the content with his community and with his friends. It's more about that, Mm-hmm. But anyway, that was the first thing. The second thing was, I was watching Wooden Potatoes maybe 3 or 4 days ago, and somebody asked him about the same topic we're talking about, and his response was, look, I've been here since the beginning. I've been through various ups and downs, and these people come into the scene and they're real big, and then they leave and new people come in. It's just one of these things. It's unfortunate that people, big streamers or bigger name community people are leaving or are taking a break, and you can't fault them for that, by the way. But that doesn't mean the game is dead or dying or dissipating. I mean, ArenaNet's still making plenty of money. The game is not going anywhere. Yeah. Regardless of how you might feel about raids or the hard content or directionless, it's going to continue to be, at the very least, what it is. I certainly hope for change, and I hope that things change, but if they don't, ArenaNet is still doing well for Guild Wars 2 and for their own thing. The point is, it's not going away. If I leave tomorrow and go play something else, somebody else will fill my shoes. Do you know what I mean?
And it's just the way it is. I think on both sides, it's a lot. Actually, on all three sides, it's a lot of miscommunication. No communication really coming from ArenaNet, except for like this last week where they've kind of given us little drop feed of like, we're gonna tell you something in a month, like, and we're like, oh, an idea of content, like. But
yeah, we'll talk about it after.
Yeah, but it's like one of those things of everybody's enjoying labeling one another, and we're not getting anywhere with it, because I think it was right before we begged you to come on, because we lost someone, but I saw you tweet out like how, and not just in Guild Wars 2, but kind of casuals have been kind of used as a negative or bad term, and it's like you're either hardcore or casual. There's like no theoretical in between.
It's a little weird.
Where in reality, most players are in between, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm certainly somewhere in the middle there. Rocco was saying today, I think on Twitter, he's not sure where he falls anymore. You're in between. You're a tweener. You're right in between it.
Yeah.
You know, it's you're a middleman. Yeah, it is what it is. It's just like it used to be that you would call a new player or inexperienced player like a noob, right? Nowadays, casual to, and I said this on Twitter, like casual to me is somebody who just plays a game casually with time investment, with interest in doing achievements and reaching the upper echelons and so forth. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're unskilled at the game, but that's what the word has taken on when somebody mentions a casual player versus a hardcore and elitist player, right? Elitist has become, well, not even so much that you're good, but that you're toxic. You're on the toxic high end if you're an elitist, right? But if you're a casual, somehow that's become this dirty word for an unskilled person who refuses to change their bad habits and so on. And I don't think either are really accurate of what players really are, you know? But it's just sort of I guess a weird observation when you see a lot of this terminology being thrown around on podcasts or tweets and so forth as to how they sort of label one another as to, or even how people label themselves when they talk about what kind of player they are.
Yeah.
It's weird because like every time I like, I mean casual in the terms of like, you know, playing like, you know, any skill level, but like, you know, you're just playing like hours at a time, you know, just enjoying your time, taking your time with it. But like every time I bring it up on show, like I stop myself. It's like, it's going to be perceived as wrong. I have to use a different terminology to clarify what I mean. So I see what you mean there.
Yeah, I mean, I would consider myself a casual player for quite a while now. And when I say casual player, I mean, I'm talking about time investment and interest in try-harding things. I don't have a static raid group right now. So if like I did a raid today with one of the ArenaNet devs, but again, that was like a casual experience. We went in as a group, we killed a boss, no big deal. We left. That was kind of the end of it. It wasn't like, I would say that I would be a little bit more hardcore if I had a static group and I was raiding 2 to 3 days a week like I was at the beginning. That's more like hardcore try hard to me, where I'm dedicated to doing particular things with a particular amount of time that I'm investing into the game, instead of now where I kind of just log in, I do dailies, I do a couple of achievements, I play the story, whatever happens, right? I'm not dedicated to doing necessarily specific things with X amount of time.
Yeah, honestly, and I've said in the past, like especially when they were announcing raids and stuff, and for me, I was always a casual player in the sense of I wanted to play casually and enjoy the game because I played WoW. I raided in WoW. I remembered, what was it, DKP or something, like their point system for
Dragon kill points, DKP.
Like all like internal guild, like for
listen, Dale, you didn't show up on Thursday, minus 30 DKP. I win.
Exactly. So I can't get, I'm the only one that can use it, but it's going to the person that's like has a secondary off spec the gear or something. It's like, you know, I always looked at Guild Wars 2 for, like I said, and that's just for me as a casual game. But yeah, I don't think it has to be even when I was saying it, I feel like I have to like be like, I don't mean that as a bad thing, but it's like, and this is like what we're all talking about, but
casual gamer. And when they're talking about it, quite a few people, when they talk about it as people who don't really care about the high end of the game and also have zero interest in improving their gameplay. Even when they're asked to rise to the challenge of something. They're also the same people. Some of them are the same people who also went to the forums and said, Heart of Thorns is too hard. If you don't change it, I quit forever, which of course nobody ever really does. But you know, it's more of the audience or part of the audience that just wants everything to be core difficulty. which I don't really think is good for the game overall. But
And honestly, and I think another, like, I was thinking about it is, I think even us as viewers to like streamers or content creators have to, you know, I don't want to say be there during the good and the bad, but like when they don't want to play Guild Wars 2 or whatever game you can fit this into, you know, the main game or something, you know, try to support them. Now, granted, I'm not saying like you have to watch everything they do. Like it's like but it's like, you know, maybe they're trying this game out new. Maybe I'll see if I like it. But it's like, because I know a lot of times, you know, some content creators will look at it as, well, I'm not getting the numbers here, because you're kind of talking about how Wooden Potatoes saying content creators tend to get a following and then maybe leave and will slowly never come back again. But it's like,
there's a lot of that frustration going around for sure.
Yeah, and it is one of the sad things
that I can talk about for many hours about. Yeah. But I did want to say something else too before we move on. In that, somebody posted on the forums about Mighty Teapot leaving Guild Wars 2, which was not entirely accurate. There's this thing in part of the Guild Wars 2 community. You see it on Reddit, you see it on the official forums, and I don't quite understand where it comes from. But there's this idea. First of all, there's an idea that miscategorizes Teapot. And don't get me wrong, I've been critical of some of the things that maybe he has said or done in the past, and maybe unfairly so. My own biases and so forth there. But he has done a lot for the raiding scene. Besides streaming it every single day, the number of people he's actually carried through the raids without forcing them to go and buy it from somebody, because that's a big part of the scene, unfortunately, is sort of astounding when you think about it. You know what I mean? Especially if you're on EU, it's mostly a bigger thing, obviously. But, you know, he takes pretty much anybody and carries them through the raid without really asking for anything necessarily in return for it. He just wants to play the raids with his friends and anyone else who wants to come along. And there was a lot of mischaracterization and almost character assassination attempts on trying to make this out like he was going to Classic WoW for money or something like that, which is ridiculous.
He has a secret deal with WoW.
Yeah, he's going to Classic WoW to make more money and build a bigger community. I mean, come on, really? It's just silly. It really is. But not only that, but there's a lot of comments of who ? Or I don't watch Twitch. Why would I ever watch somebody else play another game? I don't know. Why do people watch football and hockey and basketball and whatever? You know? But that mentality, for some reason, in Guild Wars 2 specifically, seems to be really strong and prevalent on Twitch on Reddit as well as the official forums, and I don't really understand it. You know.
I guess I can understand a little bit, just because like when I play Guild Wars 1, well, there wasn't really any Twitch back in Guild Wars 1, right? But like I played, like I didn't look up any guides, I didn't join forums much, anything. I just played with a guild and I had fun. I didn't really look up anyone. I didn't really care about outside sources. I only played the game. Whereas with like transitioning to Guild Wars 2, I started like looking up news and research, and that's how I like got into a whole bunch of like fields, and that's how I'm here at this point. So I'm more immersed in what people are doing in like streams and like what game articles are saying, and reading blog posts and patch notes and things like that. And you know, a majority of people, I would say a lot of people, maybe not a majority, but a lot of people just don't do that. They just play the game, see it update, let it update, play the game, and they discover things along the way.
Sure, and I understand that big time. But these are people who are active. They go outside the game, and they're active on Reddit, and they're active on the forums, but they refuse to look at Twitch. And even some of them even refuse to look at YouTube, or both of them for that matter.
I mean, I think those are just when I was reading those, I felt like I was just looking at any popular content creators comment section on like a YouTube page where it's just like, I'm too cool to like them.
It's disheartening, like, just in general. And they're not even saying like we don't like Mighty Teapot. They're saying they don't like any. They don't like any content creator. Forget it, and it's just like, really? Nothing? I mean, there's a bunch of content creators for games I don't even play that I like. I just like the person.
You don't like J.J. Abrams? He's done fantastic movies. He's a content creator. You can get some of his stuff on YouTube, the YouTube TV or whatever they're doing.
I don't know. I guess I just don't quite. I can understand if Twitch isn't your thing, and maybe you don't even like YouTube, but there just seems to be like a large amount of people involved in Guild Wars 2 who are very anti.
I feel like you're just miserable at that point, because I know, like, back when like ESL and PvP was popular, there were just people adamantly against that type of thing. Like, that content's not for you, that's fine, and you don't have to like watch it, but like, you don't have to
go out of your way to make a post saying, why would you ever watch somebody play a video game? I could play it myself. Yeah, and a lot of people do. A lot of people watch the stream, or they watch Talking Skritt while they're playing Guild Wars 2. I don't know. It's crazy.
I mean, in this day and age, I feel like it's important to have influencers. It's important to have people, content creators, who enjoy your game and promote your game inadvertently, just because they actually like what you do. I think that's important. It gets people playing the game. Like, I don't know the margin for Guild Wars 2, that transition, but it does get people playing the game. It gets people like for beginners, they watch streams to understand certain things like that. I think it's
interesting because, I had maybe one person watching me back in the Rifting with Inks days when it was like Justin TV.
That was me.
Oh, wow.
That was age. It wasn't age. It was probably my mom. No, I'm kidding. But even like SWOTOR, like, I just don't, until Guild Wars 2, I guess, and maybe it's because I'm newer to streaming and kind of YouTube for that matter, but I just don't really remember so much resistance to content creators in general.
Well, like,
it's strange to me. I don't know.
There weren't a lot of at the conception of YouTube, there weren't a lot of YouTube creators or a lot of people who like went out of their way to like get cameras set up and like do like vlogs and other things like that. Video games didn't really catch on too much until like PewDiePie and things like that. But Justin TV, I think, only really like became super popular with like Dota and League of Legends, and then it like kick-started a bunch of like other games as well.
But yeah, and like Chad's kind of saying, they had a situation that kind of puts content creators in a bad light. As they were kind of being trolled by, they were basically in a raid being used as content, in the sense of this person, according to chat, was making fun of them on their stream and stuff like that. And which, yes, that does make, unfortunately, that does make all content people lump that together and make all content creators look bad. But once again, like we said, there are bad. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. There's always bad apples in each type thing, and it kind of ruins it for everyone. And it does suck. I wish.
Not gonna lie, I would have trolled that person back so hard.
Sorry for the derail.
Yeah, no problem. I would troll that
derail never.
Yeah. Well, Fungo, if I was in there, I would troll that person back so hard. Do not test me.
I'm a little spiteful in that I just would have exposed them and like posted it to my Twitter and saying, look how mean this person is. What a meanie. What a big meanie pants.
That's the other Arlie's saying that there's been people that have been being paid to stream games, and it seems like they haven't disclosed that kind of stuff. And for some reason, it seems like it hit YouTube, but it didn't trickle to Twitch or like live services. As much.
Okay. So the thing is, first of all, with paid streams, I kind of get it. Like, if it's money, right? Like, you're not gonna, if you want the money and you don't mind playing the game, you probably do it. There are some people who will play sponsored streams and genuinely enjoy the game. There are some people who will genuinely turn down the sponsorships like that because they don't like the game. But I'm not going to judge a person for having a sponsored stream.
Oh no, I'm not judging someone against having a sponsored stream and getting paid to play a game. I'm just saying disclosing it is like,
Yeah, so disclosing it is kind of an
actually a legal thing. You have to disclose.
Yeah, that's why it just seems like it had, like, I've heard that as more recent thing still happening in Twitch, whereas it seems like it went through YouTube as a, the whole hashtag ad thing. It's like,
yeah. I know Magic the Gathering Arena, like, they are so hardcore on that you have to disclose if something is sponsored or whatever. Like, that's a big thing for them because there's legal ramifications and so forth.
Unless the sponsors G2A.
then you probably don't want to say that you're sponsored by them.
Talking Skritt is brought to you by G2A.
No, we're not. No. Not in a million years.
Yeah, no.
We're also
unless they change their act.
Get your fuel on. It's healthy for you. It's full of vegetables and crap. None of which is true. Hashtag not sponsored.
Well, I'm sure it has vegetables in it, right? Vegetables grow in the dirt. I'm sure the chemicals they got from it probably were taken from the dirt. It's like literally the same thing, right? It's all.
We'll save it for the after show, but there was an interesting discussion about G Fuel the other day that I thought was nice.
Oh, okay. I guess to close it out, I would say, unless you want to talk more about it?
Oh, no. I was going to talk about the survey thing, but because it's kind of in that.
I heard about that.
I mean, granted, we can't really say too much about it, apparently, but I think the important thing to note is a survey went out apparently this past week to a select amount of Guild Wars 2 players. Though in the Reddit post, I think a mod actually said that the devs asked to kind of keep it like not discuss the contents within it, which I don't know why or anything like that. Which yes, and some people were bringing up
like in the future, right? They might have some things that they might say like.
Somebody had posted it to me. It really wasn't.
Or taint the results. Yeah.
I guess taint the results maybe. I got a little upset about this, probably way more than I should have, because I guess number one, keeping it secret or something seems silly. You're asking people to like enter into an NDA on a survey that you have no way of controlling the NDA whatsoever.
And that's the thing. People were saying how like it's very like really not enforceable, which I think my thing is, it's weird that it's NDA or not NDA. It's basically like a yes or no thing. Like I don't really know if that's how legally binding that is. But I think the biggest thing is if it is a chance for your voice to get heard, definitely take that opportunity if you do have it. I mean, and be honest with them. I mean,
my thing was this. I said, well, they should send it to everybody. And the many replies that I got were basically, well, that doesn't work because let's just say 1% of the population actually replied. That would be like, I don't know, 20,000 plus responses that they have to go through or whatever, right? My thing is, how many people did they send this to then? 1,000, 2,000 or something? I don't know. I just wonder, are they really looking at anything that's like detailed within the response and going to log that information somewhere? Because I have this feeling that a lot of the questions are simple, like A, B, C, D. And
how many hours a week do you play?
Yeah.
I see that a lot. Like,
I just wonder, like, if you had real criticism, which some people said that they did, I wonder if they're really going to sit, read, and take that into consideration, or if they just sort of like, okay,
maybe
throw that out and let's just keep
to realize demographic for future.
If that's the case, then it'll show, obviously.
Yeah. But if there is, like I said, I don't know what's in there. If there is a box at the end that says, because usually some resumes, well, some surveys will have stuff like that, where it's just like, is there anything else you want us to, let us know?
It was. there was definitely something about the gem store in there. Something about how many gems do you buy or spend, or do you use the gold conversion system or something like that. I think there was. Do you play on NA or EU?
Yeah. Wow.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get an email either, but I don't think.
No, I didn't get any.
Like, I voice my opinion here every week, so
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't need to voice my opinion. They already know my opinion. They don't care.
Oh. Yeah. There you go.
They can look up my spending habits. So,
but I'm curious if this email went out because of all the current discussions, or if this was
right. So that was part of the conspiracy, and from what I understand, this is not the first time they've done this. This is just like it's an ongoing thing. Apparently, I'd never heard about it.
I've never heard about it either. Yeah.
Until somebody put it on Reddit, I didn't even hear about it. So I guess don't talk about this actually kind of works, because I've never heard about it until now.
Well, because the people that did, they're no longer here to talk about it again. Like, you only get one shot. Their NDAs are serious.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a customer survey. I guess there's nothing to get too crazy about.
And it might be triggered by it detecting how many hours you play. Like, if they start seeing your hours decline under a certain amount, maybe they'll be like, "Hey, what can we do to get you to play more?" Like,
I don't think so, because
I don't
saw
know.
a lot of varying results. I saw a lot of varying results, and like
lots of different people getting it or not getting it. Yeah.
So it is
somebody
like
somebody was
random.
saying, somebody on Reddit had said, "I bet no hardcore people are going to get one," and then I forget who, but somebody who is pretty generally hardcore did end up getting one. He responded to my tweet.
Okay.
But it seemed pretty varied.
It does sound like it's a truly random, allotment. So, which I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea how they chose who they chose. It could just be total RNG. Yeah, Valen got one. There you go. He's pretty hardcore.
But we're talking about how it's like, we're not hearing too much information or anything like that. We've been saying this whole time that we got this little trickle of possible news announcement content. Yeah, just please, sir, may I have some more. But probably shouldn't do that in front of a green screen. But all right, I already did it. So this past week, I think it was Thursday or Friday. I think it was Thursday. They may have said it, or was it Friday? But they put out a blog post and all on social medias, basically with this image. Just it says Guild Wars 2 Living World with kind of a blue and red kind of swirl,
like
coloring going through it. Yeah.
Well, it's red, purple, and blue.
Ah, yes.
So is that Primordius, Kralkatorrik, and Jormag? A little bit of leftover Kralkatorrik.
I know a lot of people have been speculating on it.
Yeah, and I guess a little bit of white in there as well.
Yeah, there's basically just said, "Are you ready to catch the very first look at an all-new chapter in Guild Wars 2's Living World story?" Basically, if you're in the area in Seattle, Washington, or maybe going to PAX during that time, but they're going to be showing it off at the Moore Theater August 30th at 9 a.m. and that is Pacific time. They will have a live stream of the announcement with a developer presentation and more on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. They did say it will be approximately 45-minute presentation. And if you are going, if you definitely want to make sure you go to this, attendance is first come, first serve. There isn't a entry fee requirement, like you don't have to pay to get in. And they did say the first 500 attendees will get a Guild Wars 2 swag bag with fun surprises inside. So,
and Age is going to swipe an extra one from me.
I am.
Just say, this is for MMOInks, so give me another one, please.
There you go.
And then there'll be the person that was on the forum post going, "Who?"
yeah, exactly.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go super early just to line up.
Yeah.
because I want to make sure I get in. And we'll see what happens. And
I wish I was going. I wish I was there. I will not be. I will be there via the power of the internet. As long as my internet doesn't die that day.
Yeah, that'll be our luck. But yeah, that's the kind of big question is, I mean, clearly they're going to be talking about the next chapter of Living World. Still, some people are hopeful that they're going to pull the rug out from under us and say it's an expansion.
No.
Good luck to you guys.
No. I'm super excited about this. Probably a little bit overhyped, I'll be honest. But 45 minutes for Living World season 5. I mean, they got to be covering it in pretty broad strokes, number one. And number two, 45 minutes is quite a long. They got to be showing off more than just that. Maybe alliance. Somebody suggested that maybe they'll be talking about alliances as well.
Well, I mean, they have said in the past that they wanted the Living World they wanted to show people that they could have expansion-like features in Living World. So maybe they'll show that off and start talking about expansion-like features.
Wardrobe and, whatever. Now it's an HD version of the game.
I'm just gonna, I'm just keeping my expectations low. Just go in and it's like, oh, find out about Living World. Let's go.
Cooking with Farron. That's good.
I mean, are there any hopes that you want to see? Like,
for Living World, I guess I'm just interested what the direction of the story is. There's cool things that I would like to see, like story-wise, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay, here's what I need. You ready, Deo?
Okay.
Do you remember Heart of Thorns with Colin Johansson on stage before Mike O'Brien came out? He had this moment. This is what I need, ArenaNet. You listening? So you better write this in somehow. Where he said, in Guild Wars 2, when you climb to the highest peak, what do? And he's like, everyone's like, jump off! Ah! And then he's like, that's right, but now you glide! And they had the whole gliding thing. That's what I need, right? I need the cheesy setup. And then I need the audience to yell back something incoherent that doesn't matter. And then for Mike O'Brien or whoever to say, we're releasing sailboats. I don't know, whatever.
But what if it's not something you like, but in that format? Like, what do you do when you're wanting to log out of the game? You just sit there and log out. But now you go into an inn for rested experience.
Airships, yeah.
Exactly. What? Rested experience.
I mean, I'm excited to find out, where are we going? What does the story entail? I mean, I've got my own theories about the logo being a good deal of purple still, so I think there's still going to be like
some remnants of
Kraukatoric remnants / residue, whatever. I mean, I don't know necessarily that it's going to focus on the dragons. I think the dragon thing, they're trying to put that to bed or whatever, but
yeah. Okay.
Especially with the two that, if it is Primoris and Jormag, because that was the point. They did literally put them to bed.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So there are two things that could potentially be very, again, low expectations, right? But Northern Shiver Peaks could be fun because we do have our and then we have for those who have it the HOM achievements, we have the Hall of Monuments up there, so it'd be kind of neat if we can refurbish that area up. Just saying, just putting that out there. And then we have Cantha.
Yeah,
so far north we're going to have the Cantha.
I went two different directions. So
okay. I was like, we're literally just gonna.
Winter is coming.
So it could be one of those two. If they're going to put expansion-like content in Living World story, I would say Cantha would be a good place to do it. But also Northern Shiver Peaks as well.
I mean, I just don't. Yeah, I mean, this logo to me, and the other logo they had, when the one that they send you in the email, where it's got the snow scene or whatever.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, that reminds me of Northern Shiver Peaks. I mean, I want to go to the Char Homelands personally. I think there's a lot of good story that could happen there, but Yeah, I don't know. There's sort of like a snowy image for this that gets sent to your email, or that got sent to my email anyway.
Yeah. I kind of don't want to speculate on it. I kind of just want to know what it is. So I'm going to go in like, I have these ideas that I would like for story, but let's see what we're going to get.
Well, I'm also curious because you guys kind of hit upon it with like how you want it delivered, but if they're gonna try this whole expansion like features, what expansion like features do you think they're gonna have to throw out there? I mean, do you
It's
think they're
like,
gonna try to do elite specs through a living world?
no, I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't think so.
It's more like,
Fishing.
you know, yeah, like features, honestly, like expansion features that you would see, or like just big features that go out with living story. And fishing like is an example of one thing that could be things like if you have 500 cooking, you have fishing, and like all that jazz and all that stuff. But that's
I'm slightly worried they're gonna go the kind of what we've seen with like early on WoW expansion routes, where the features are, because some of the stuff still left on that list is that Mike Z was talking about was the build templates, which maybe that's when they're going to announce it because it's really setting up for that.
Right.
But also being like, yeah, we're increasing, like you were saying earlier, Inks, like increasing cooking and stuff, and it's like, yay. Like, these are the
That's about the response to it, yeah. And I mean, that was part of his post back in April, was increase to cooking, increase to jewel crafting, I think was the other one.
Yeah, I think they wanted to work on the jewel crafting.
I think you can expect both of those during season 5. Obviously the wardrobe. There was a couple other things I don't quite remember what else was on that miniature sort of roadmap, but I think all of those will be included. Personally, I want elite specs. I just don't think we're getting them.
I think we're ready for another set of elite specs.
I think the community and the players are ready for them. I don't know if ArenaNet is ready for them.
I don't think, no, yeah.
The other thing I would normally say for other games would be dungeons. We're still likely to get fractals every 6 months, but Guild Wars 2 has never been good with releasing dungeons, even with expansions. Like, they just have never done it, except for the original game. So that's kind of off the list. I had a couple of other things I wanted to see that I'm sort of blanking on now. They need to be really good at the repeatable content, because a lot of the Living World stuff is go in there, get it done, almost never go back.
Do you think they'll have new type of content?
Like what?
I'm not sure. It's like it's something that you could maybe do in groups, but it's something like different, something new. And like I'm just throwing that out there.
I hope they go back to world bosses over bounties. I kind of like world bosses better personally. Or maybe, and we haven't really seen this too well, but if they could come up with some Heart of Thorns level meta events to add into.
And I was to say, I would like to see a better balance, because when we were still thinking expansions of how they come out with like 5 maps, I think what we've always said is like HOT swing really far one direction, and then POF swing far really the other direction. It's like I like some of the, you know, harder, you know, bosses that we had in HOT, and like you said, you would want to see like stuff like triple trouble, like stuff that took a little while.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe have 1 or 2 maps that follow like the Tequaddle triple trouble at the time type thing, whereas then the other ones can play more like the, you know, POF or core Tyria maps. I mean, where
I also think it's very possible we'll hear a little bit more about alliances. Now, in the perfect world, and I've said this before on Tea Time and other places, alliances alone, which is really about restructuring world balance, isn't enough. You can release that, but it's going to fall on its face pretty much. You have to restructure the balance of world versus world. It needs it badly. You have to restructure rewards. That needs to be worked on as well as maybe even add some new rewards to world versus world. As well as how like you dole those out and give those to people and so forth. And I don't know whether they're going to do another map which would be good. I wouldn't really expect another map, but packaging all that together and releasing it at the same time while followed up by marketing and hype is super important.
Yeah.
So whenever they do alliances, they need to come out with all of this stuff together to make it one big World vs. World patch and advertise it as such.
That's what I'm kind of hoping that they're going to do.
Because my biggest, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I hope that's what they're going to do, because it's been a while since they talk about anything, or, you know, so I'm really hoping it's something like that. Yeah.
I guess it boils down to me. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Fongo really hits on a point that I've talked about a lot. There's no guild team currently that we know of. The last time Arena talked to us about it, there wasn't a guild team. I wouldn't be surprised with their restructuring if there was a guild/festivities team in place now. Maybe there isn't, and maybe Arena has just missed the mark on that. But it wouldn't surprise me if they try to deliver a message such as, we're putting more, remember guilds? It's Guild Wars 2. Guilds are even more important. We're going to put some focus on that, because I seen like a fake leak the other day about guild halls and how the Living Story is going to have a lot more of these Sun Spear sort of refugees that you can upgrade and stuff, which worked but didn't work at the same time, because like there's not a whole lot of reason to go back there and care about it a whole lot. And it was really just encapsulated in a single episode rather than across multiple episodes, which is what it should have been. So more of those instances and more stuff on guild halls. If that's true, that means that they'd have to reinstate a guild team to work on that sort of stuff.
Now, my question here is, I think it boils down to, if they do pull off expansion-like features, are you okay with the living world or the seasons with expansion-like features, or do you want that this is an expansion thing that you pay the $39, $49, whatever amount, and there's the drum up of that hype? And
the question is, how are they going to monetize it? Are they going to keep doing this for free? Because I don't think they can. Proof is also in the pudding.
Yes.
We haven't seen them do anything like this. Like, we haven't really seen them deliver expansion material, like full expansion material, in a living season. We haven't seen it happen. Not in my opinion. So if you're really going to do that, you have to show us that you can do it. And that's going to take a lot of faith on the part of the players until we actually see it happen, because we really just haven't seen it right now. You're just sort of taking their word that it's going to happen. What I would like to think is going to happen in that 45 minutes, besides tell us the initial direction of Season 5, is that Mike O'Brien or whoever, Mike Z, will come out and say, this is what we're doing in Season 5. It'll release within X time frame. You know, you're going to get wardrobe, you're going to get cooking, you're going to get guild halls. Like, he's going to list all this stuff that you're going to get that amounts to an expansion that will be delivered via the length of the whole season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then we have to hope that they can deliver. And legendary weapons, by the way.
Oh, really?
I actually think it's possible that, and at one point I would not have said this, but I actually think it's possible that we could see another set of legendary weapons eventually be released like they've been doing with Living World. And I say this for a couple of reasons. Number one, if they're not doing this, I think they're off the rocker and they're being a bit silly, because number one, releasing one weapon at a time like they have been for a couple of years now, they're able to do that, right? We know that they can do that. Mm-hmm. Number two, the collections for these things are pretty basic and uninteresting.
Yeah.
Number three,
sadly,
giving people legendary weapons to chase after, even if they save up for it ahead of time, like DeRoyer does, gives people something to work towards when there's no content. And it's almost always a big selling point for that particular patch. It's a headliner.
It's true.
Now,
see it.
and that's the other interesting thing with, because like Chat's saying with build templates, we're thinking about it, but Chat's also saying, what about another legendary armor set via open world, one piece at a time in each episode, which I could see as a more likely thing if they are going to push build templates, being like, to fully utilize it, you're going to need to be decked out in legendaries, basically.
Yeah. I think if they do, yes, Shira, I agree. I think if they do, they will have to make it extremely more expensive than getting it via raid or even world versus world.
Yeah, it has to
Otherwise,
be.
you're going to. It's not about slighting those players. It's about undercutting that content. Right now, you want people to play raids. You want them to get raid armor, right? But and that's sort of a carrot on the stick, which doesn't exist anymore if you've been playing for a while. If you just make it open world PvE and it's just simple to get as far as just needing gold or materials, then that's even less reasons to do raids, and you're cutting the legs out from that content.
And if it's taken on like big meta bosses, like the difficulty of like Triple Trouble, or like don't like definitely bug fix it, but don't nerf it because it has that big of a cost behind it, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, I think it is important to have legendary items available via multiple pieces of content. Like World vs. World has their own set, Fractals has a backpack, and even Structured PvP has a legendary backpack. Like, I think that's really important, but it's also important to balance that around not undercutting one form or the other when you're designing that. And that's probably kind of difficult to design, I would say. So I'm not opposed to like open world PvE legendary armor, which obviously would look different. It wouldn't look the same, right? But you need to be careful not to undercut rating.
Yeah. Because gamers, people in general, are always going after the easiest path. I mean, so yeah,
Sure.
if you do make it, it's just human nature. You want to get it as quick as possible, as little effort. We've kind of seen it, you know.
And I would say, I'm so sorry for cutting you off, Dale.
Oh no, you're good.
I would say too that there's something to be said about like raid legendary armor, like it, love it, hate it, whatever, has a unique appearance. When I withdraw my weapons and my red dragon wings come out, very briefly, I wish it was a little longer, on my raid armor, that's the only armor that has that animation. Nothing else has it. If I had World vs. World legendary armor, which I'm working on but don't have, I would have the little tentacles, right? And so when somebody sees that, an experienced player is likely to know, okay, they got it in World vs. World. Okay, they got it in raids. So on some level, it holds itself up by its unique visual effect. As long as you don't do the gem store thing, undercut the process and undercut the looks by providing something better, shinier for less money, or an easier way to get, let's say. Oh, and PvP has unique legendary armor as well. Apologies. I don't PvP nearly enough.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely intriguing and maybe more accessible with if they do want to push the idea of build templates and getting the full aspect out of it. But yeah, that does, like Chad's saying, you know, better with cosmetics is really subjective. That is how it always boils down to it. It's like,
I think the
like
easiest way to do that is to make it a little bit less flashy. The big draw of raid legendary armor is the animations. Whether you like them or hate them, some people hate them, I understand, but at least you know it's unique to raiding. Even if you hate it, you know that that animation is unique to that raid piece of armor because the other armor doesn't animate in the same way. So if you made it a little bit less flashy and didn't undercut the acquisition of the other armors too much, I think PvE open world armor can work. Legendary armor can work.
what if the PV or the open world legendary armor, it makes your character do an animation where it's literally like moving the armor itself, like he has to manually do it, like. But Yeah,
The,
like Chad's saying.
the open world armor is just made out of colored cardboard, and you just run around cardboard armor. Some people would love that, so maybe that's not such a.
I will say, as long as they bring it, maybe that's where they're going to put the paper bag helmets.
Bring the paper bag helmets back, cardboard armor.
I want that as an announcement.
I would wear that.
August 30th. I want the paper bag helmet announcement.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, the die channel thing. That's, I mean, and that, I think that's the hard thing is with the material that's used. Because I remember when Dolphy used to show die channels, she always picked one of the outfits that had like metal bits, cloth, and leather bit. Like, so it's, yeah, it's tough. But you know, we're talking about getting things from the gem store, and also slightly, you know how some people feel it undercuts the raid stuff. We have the gem store. First up, well, actually the only new thing is the bow of the Grove chair. Bow. Sorry, whatever. We've been going for 2.5 hours. The bow of the Grove chair for 400 gems, and you can see it here on the. They put it out as a blog post, and it is a cosmetic chair. I don't think it moves because I know the Acern one last time we talked about does move, but this does not. So
this is a regular chair.
Oh,
it's not automated.
Unbelievable.
Not. Oh man.
I wonder if it glows in there or something. That'd be kind of neat. Kind of like how Silvari hair does.
The flowers seem to have a pretty sharp glow to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
seems cool.
I mean, yeah, it's 400 gems. It's now unforgivable to make a chair that doesn't move. They open that door. They can't just go back. But yeah, it's so 400 gems. Would you be possibly willing to pick this up? I mean,
not right now, honestly.
Yeah, chairs really aren't my thing.
I have.
However, I will say I know a couple like Blue Jasmine, who I think her main character is a Silvari. She like went freak. She loved this thing. She loved this chair.
I have the Egyptian one.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I'm not a big chair person. It's funny because we were doing world bosses like a week ago, like a bunch of people, and this guild had 3 identical people. I don't know if it was like the same person with different accounts or whatever, but they all had the giant Asura chair, you know, and all the characters looked identical. And I just set my little wooden chair up right next to him and sat in it. My pathetic wooden chair.
and you probably stood out more than them. I mean, there you go. See, you don't have to get the flashy chair. Be cool like Inks and have the wooden chair.
Yeah, just a basic wooden chair. Yep, that's me.
But yeah, if you are interested in it, you can pick up for 400 gems. Some returning items in the gem store. We have the Blackline keys and scrap package for 900 gems that will leave Tuesday. The mount adoption license for 400 gems or 10 for 3,400 gems. The Wings of Love backpack glider combo for 700 gems. And actual items that are on sale. The Istani Isles mount adoption license for 320 gems or 5 for 1,400 gems, which is 20% off. The Istani Isle mount select license, which you can pick which one, of course, is 720 gems, which is 40% off. The Toxic gloves and mantle skin for 300 gems each, which is 25% off. The Floral glider for 320 gems. And the Wreath of Cooperation for 320 gems, which are both 20% off. So, are there any of these returning or on sale items that you guys would recommend picking up?
Not for me. Floral glider is okay though. I like that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're into the mounts thing,
Yeah,
get
I
them
was
on
gonna say, I've
I
never
don't want
picked
to
up the.
discount if you're into the mount thing.
Yeah.
The Wreath of Cooperation, isn't that the Winter's Day thing?
Wasn't
think
that
so.
like the almost
Yeah,
like
it
was the Greek?
glows. Oh,
Was it?
maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, okay, it's the
Trying
helmet.
to. Yeah, I thought it was. I could be wrong too. I don't.
I don't know.
Very
I'm so. I think anymore. I don't know. There's so many skins now that you can earn that.
Oh yeah, it's the circlet of the.
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing really stands out to me.
Yeah, this is for these. It's just very much flavor.
If you like
like
chairs, buy the plant chair. There you go.
yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say I have the Wings of Love backpack glider combo, but that's mainly because I made a Norn named.
Yeah,
like,
my wife
after
loves
Fabio.
those. My wife loves those feathered backpacks and wings and so forth. So she's got the love one. It pops little hearts up.
Mm-hmm.
There
Like I
you
said,
go.
I just made it because I made a goofy character. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's very much niche flavor. Like if that is your specific flavor, like you're going for floor, go for the floor glider and the chair. But that's yeah. But yeah, pretty small gem store. I'm not complaining. It's for once we only had like one item. But last up we have Community Corner. First up from Meg AI 2, the DX12 version 1.1 is out for Guild Wars 2, which in case if you do want it, information on that, I'll throw the link in chat, and if you're watching this on YouTube or the website, links should be in the description and all that stuff. But this we've talked about in the past. This is basically a tool that is allowing Guild Wars 2 to use DirectX 12. I have heard usually people saying it's done, it's only helped their their computers. So if you're able to utilize DirectX 12,
Yeah.
but they do make a couple quick notes of of course don't make any modifications to the game files, or this doesn't make any modifications to the game files or runtime or anything like that. So it should, and they say it should be TOS compliant. They're not, I guess, guaranteeing any of that. Also, they do say use it at your own risk, and of course, kind of standard stuff. He has a README file there, and expect minor bugs. Also, we have the Roy is doing an EU Summer Guild vs Guild Core Draft Tournament, and they're doing no POF or hot specializations. Maybe at that time you won't be able to use Living Story Season 5 ones if the announcement that we're making up is true. But the tournament will be in a couple weeks. Drafting process takes place on Roy's Twitch, which just in case, I'll throw that in chat. And once again, this will be in the description. Also, and it's kind of fitting that Teapot hosted us, but Teapot is also doing his elitist rating party. It is coming up in August.
I think it's the 24th and 25th.
And
if Teapot's still in chat, he can correct me, but I think it's August 24th and 25th.
Yeah.
Community run, community driven. So get in on that.
Yeah.
Definitely check that out. Twitch.tv/MightyTeapot. Also, we have Chronicles of Tyria. They're doing the Summer of Short Stories. They put it out on Twitter. Basically, every week until October 19th, a Guild Wars 2 community writer will publish a Guild Wars 2 short story on their website. And in case you want that as well. Also, I know Age, when he first saw it, I thought I could, guess I didn't copy and paste that over. My apologies. But also Noxy Green Rose. I know you were showing it off, Age, and it's definitely a pretty good one. Sometimes I do try to put like little short snippets, but I think this is one of those videos that you definitely have to hear the sound and stuff, which we tend to not have the sound or anything like that. But it is a Guildlands 3, a Guild Wars 2 Borderlands 3 parody. And honestly, and I agree with some of the comments, that I think it is equivalent or even better in some aspects as like some of the like Living Story trailers or stuff that we've got. Like it's beautifully done. Like,
Yeah. It was pretty solid. I really enjoyed it.
but also we had as just a nod to Kroof Gaming, which is twitch.tv/Kroof, KROOF, and then gaming and then an underscore. They've actually been streaming a lot of Guild Wars 2 content. I think they've also were playing like Overwatch and stuff like that. But kind of going back to that stuff of if you like your Guild Wars 2 streamers, also definitely show them love outside of maybe Guild Wars 2, so they're don't become jaded or anything like that. But there it is over there. But I know they were doing like the World Boss Rush, some other of the stuff. But just kind of wanted to give a little shout out, since they were utilizing our self-promotion section in our Mad Realms Discord and all that stuff. But and I guess lastly, throwing it at Inks, is there anything specifically you want to sorry,
that I want to plug?
plug or any stuff that you've seen around the internet?
Hi guys, my name's Mighty Teapot. I know I sound a little bit different. I look a little bit different. I put on some weight. It's okay. We'll drop it. It's fine. No, seriously, Teapot is really putting a lot of effort into this ERP. It's a lot of fun. Gets like 5,000 plus people out watching it. Community driven. I don't even know what their update thing is though. But the prize pool right now is like it's over 114,000 gold, over $2,400 cash. Like the prize pool is huge on this thing.
Chad is saying now it's 130K.
130K and 2.4K. 130K gold and 2.4 or $2,400. Huge, insane. It's getting big. All by Teapot in the community so far. He's got a Matcherino thing. I don't know if anybody has that link. Please post it if you do. Matcherino, Jebro uses this all the time. You go and you click on some links and it adds like a quarter or something to it just to help out a little bit. It's not a big deal. But go and do the Matcherino and click on that stuff, and that really would help him out a lot. And I would appreciate if you helped him out too. It's going to be a big event, tons of people involved, and it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was looking for a tweet for his announcement. And I would have seen that. But
So 130K and 2.4K. So what you're telling me is Age donated all of his legendary nest egg. Wow, you're good guy, Age.
Don't wait a minute.
Come on, I'm sure you had that much, right?
I'm not gonna confirm that.
But yeah, no, definitely awesome. Super fighting hard for the community. I mean, we talked about it earlier, that the trials and tribulations that I think all the content creators are facing, and some more than others. But yeah, definitely, like I said, definitely support content creators you enjoy, especially even outside if they need to take a break from Guild Wars 2, or if you're watching this and maybe they're taking a break from their game to play Guild Wars 2.
That's right. Euro Truck Simulator, here we come.
Oh God.
Oh, aren't you gonna play the new flight simulator?
No. Euro Truck.
Oh, come on. You see, you have the hat. You should just do like a train simulator and be like, this is the hype train to August 30th. Boom, there you go.
Dear Lord. Someone Photoshop that. Let's go.
But wow, yeah, I think that is it for this week. So, Age, where can they find you?
Twitch or YouTube, Agent Erd. I actually feel like streaming stuff, but my sleep schedule's been terrible, so I'm gonna see what I can do about that. If anything, I'm gonna stream Sunday. I'm actually gonna try to stream some Guild Wars 2. It's been a while. It's been a while. I'll try to hop in a Royals World or do some legendary stuff.
Awesome. And Inks, where can they find you?
Twitch TV. Geez, wow. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube at MMOInks. My YouTube needs some work. Not gonna lie. Twitch, we've been a little bit better on. I'm streaming at least once a week now. Usually Tuesdays or Wednesdays, but I'm trying to, some days, some weeks I stream 2 or 3 times. It just depends on what's going on that week. I'm getting better. So come by and check it out and give it a follow. And mostly Guild Wars 2 right now, but there will be some other stuff.
I've been awesome. Terrible at streaming.
Yeah, me too. Getting better though. Getting better.
Yeah, well,
I mean, at least you're streaming. So
you're all casual at actual consistently streaming. I don't stream at all. I try to. I'm the worst at it, is what I'm saying. But yeah, you can find me at simply_day on Twitch and Twitter. And I mean, been slowly tweaking things with our other Warframe podcast that I started with Age on this channel at MAAD Realms. If you just want Guild Wars 2 news, you can follow at Talking Skritt on Twitter. But if you are just tuning at the very end, do stick around. We do a bit of an after show. But if you want to watch us in full, we do highlight it on Twitch, just twitch.tv/MAADrealms, 2 A's in the MAAD. If you want to watch this on YouTube, it goes up on Sundays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, which once again, youtube.com/MAADrealms. If you want an all-in-one nice little package, just go to MAADrealms.com, 2 A's in the MAAD, and that's our website where we put all of our content up there, but also it is where you can get the audio version of this podcast. And boy howdy, is this one going to be a doozy. We're hitting 2.5 hours. But yeah, once again, thank you, Inks, for coming out last minute. He was the hero of this week. And yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in again, and we'll see everybody next time in the game, hopefully. Good night, everybody.
All right.